So Chryssa serves as a vision curator and devoted catalyst for higher purpose on the integrative sustainability of our planet. As founder of Optyva and Optyva's co-creative, she inspires leadership as a steward, guide, and creative spark for empowering the co-creation of a sustainable world through business and lifestyles evolution. So Chryssa is going to continue the conversation around unity. So please, Chryssa.
Thank you, Kelly, for having me. I am really honored to be present with all of you this evening as today's topic around the vision of evolutionary business is actually what fuels the very core of my own spirit and my purpose in the world. So this is a shared passion that is really at the core of everything that I contribute through the various organizations that I've been a part of founding and co-founding. So thank you for having me. Continuing the talk around how we apply vision and awakened leadership into an embodied form and share that with others is a key aspect of how evolution actually happens through business. Of course, to have the vision and the intention is beautiful, and without being able to fully embody that and bring it forward, or to have fear of doing so or hesitation, which many experience, is one of the key aspects of the work that I do to support coming forward through both personal purpose, organizational purpose, and co-creative intentions. So thinking through awakened and purpose-led leaders and how attraction is the key component for co-creation. And when we choose to show up every day as our most authentic selves and with integrity, we create this kind of universal regenerative field that I spoke about in last night's panel of really attracting not only the earthly beings and co-creators and other like-minded and like-hearted spirits, but being supported what I feel in a very divine and universal nature and calling in the core of our own energy. And so being able to attract and align with co-creators is a key aspect of awakened leadership and embodying your vision. And as a very example of that, Jeff and I have been co-creators and collaborators for many years now. And Jeff introduced me to Kelly earlier this year, which has been a blessing to just know that the connections happen through showing up authentically. And to continue kind of where we left off with yesterday's panel, where I was speaking to answering the visionary calling through the authentic heart and your connected vision, being able to show up every day. We spoke about how that calling doesn't happen once and then you shift the tides and then all of a sudden you're just in a new direction. It's a continuous evolution and a journey, if you will. We refer to that as the journey of both personal becoming and collaborative effort. And so my own experience with that has really brought me into, originally starting my career off in corporate world and taking all of those insights that were learned and garnered, knowing deep within my soul that I was never there for the long term, but to really understand the system and the paradigm that we operate in so intimately that I could come forward and affect change from a very, deeply felt and purposeful intention. And so in 2009, I left corporate world and founded Optyva, which through our purpose, as Kelly shared, empowering the co-creation of a sustainable world, is where I have found my own format of relationship building and accelerating both gravity and momentum for co-creative energy and new relationships and impact. And that impact, I feel what's new about this paradigm is bringing forward the qualitative measures. I feel that business rooted in profit motives and size and power has always been measured. It's actually what I did in corporate world was, business performance measurement and strategy aligned to that measurement. And very, very rarely were there ever actual qualitative insights or measures or experiential measures that weren't somehow tied back to profit. And so that evolution that Jeff and Kelly have spoken about has been at the core of everything that my organizations bring forward in the world. And being able to shift those motives and those core measures is what allows that safety and that permission and spaciousness for individuals to also evolve their pathway based on different measures. I think, some of the larger corporations now have begun to shift their own HR measurement systems around performance measurement and how those tie back to business objectives, allowing people more freedom to bring forward their authentic purpose and to be measured, engaged against their own goals and insights rather than one another. And as Jeff spoke about, that shift in unity and mindset rather than competition and scarcity is a significant aspect as to how we continue to amplify that gravity that I'm speaking towards. And through that gravity is where that authentic voice really brings forward the cultivated fertile ground for organizational unity, both within the organization and beyond. So right now, a lot of companies in the current paradigm of business, will operate very internally focused and then externally very transactionally. Your suppliers, your customers, all of the labels that are, I like to think of things from a biomimicry standpoint, the ecosystem of business and how to date it has been very, very linear, even referred to in nomenclature such as your supply chain management. And the linear throughput that you see in product development and cycles, how technology and everything that we utilize is attempted to be co-created, but through very limited and linear structures. And so thinking through how business can evolve to be a force of change naturally on our planet, the most resonant form for that to happen is to think through natural ecosystems and how relationally organizations can develop around them interconnected and very resonant circles and cycles. And so as an example of that, my organization Optyva, that's the very premise as to how we operate and how we've built out networks of networks. And Kelly mentioned our Optivist co-creative. We are a kind of like a meshwork of many different resonant and visionary networks. And we've brought forward solutions and models based on the premise of not only letting other organizations shine and strive and individuals in their own purpose, but building and believing that that very diversity and inclusion and synergy is what models what the future of business should actually look like. And what that is a network of very efficient and mindful organizations rather than growing to be the next Amazon, Microsoft, Walmart, based on size and breadth, but more depth and an actual kind of antidote to the large corporation, which is removing those inefficiencies and the stresses that come into the system of size. And so through that embodiment, we've brought forward models and frameworks that have allowed that vision to ground in to actualized business on a day-to-day. We consult and advise, and we serve as guides for organizations from everywhere from startup entrepreneurs that are consciousness minded, all the way to large companies. After I left corporate world, Microsoft actually became one of our largest clients. And so we work in a way that approaches all different aspects of business, different sizes, different industries, but through one really common premise that integrating, as Jeff referred to in the prior people, planet, profit model, which is referred to as triple bottom line theory, integrating and replacing that profit motive with purpose as a core aspect of business. So I'd like to share with you right now, drop my screen. And for any of you who are wanting to look into this in active form, I'll paste into the chat window our Optyvist website with our research and our model that we are sharing with others. Oops, let's see here, everyone in the meeting. Going to share my screen. Is it coming through yet? Not yet. Now is it? Okay, great. So if you look here, this is Optyva's integrated sustainability model, and it's live on our research site in which you can peruse. It's actually an app that is active. And the three core pillars that we spoke about, people, planet, and purpose, replacing profit, have been at the core of how we've shared and embodied our own purpose as an example of how to build out sustainable organizations. And so this is our own transparent assessment of ourselves. We have a few goals here that we have yet to achieve. And you see here through the model that it is structured with 9 domains of business, organization, and operations. And then there are 5 levels of indicators throughout each of those domains. So it's inherently a 3 by 9 by 5 model. And this model was brought forward through years of research into organizations' intentions for sustainability. And what I like to speak to as one of the core aspects of sustainable business is today, there have been many frameworks out there and measures as to authentic sustainability. But most of them are based in those same frameworks of linear, grades and numbers and models, and they don't allow the conversation for that business ecosystem to really be nurtured. It's generally a third-party consultant coming in to do a qualitative and quantitative assessment of an organization, and then they get ranked and judged even through really typical systems like the CDP measures, and they are, it's literally like an A, B, C, or D, just like how we're graded in our education system. And so the organizations that get the A pluses and the general public entrusting that consultant's valuation of that organization is what drives profit, because those reports are released into publicly traded annual reports and what have you. So this model is really intended to shift that focus and look at how we can start an exchange and a dialogue ecosystemically once again, in that you could think of this as like a Better Business Bureau meets Yelp, where any organization can come through, learn about these aspects of a business, and not just the business have a one-sided conversation, but the public, their partners, their collaborators, their own employees, past employees, their leadership, everybody's perspective is valued, viewed, received, and contributive to how an organization is or is not authentically sustainable. So I wanted to share this with you all. And just know that you can peruse this at any time. There are multiple organizations in addition to our own assessment that you can see in the drop-down menu here that we've publicly released, and use this as an inspiration point for looking at how your organizations and what you're developing and co-creating in can be more sustainable in multiple facets. So thank you for allowing me to contribute today to the conversation. Really appreciate the share.